Now let's go to Chris Wallace at the White House. Chris, what was the main reason for that speech?
Well, I think the main reason for the speech, and it was clear from the speech, was that the president very much wants to build on the growing national sentiment, the growing world sentiment against terrorism. He doesn't want people to think that this incident is over when those 39 Americans returned back safely to the United States. He wants people to remember how they have felt the last 17 days, how angry they were about the murder of Robert Steedham and of those 6 Americans in El Salvador. And he hopes to galvanize both this country and the world for the very hard measures that may be needed to fight terrorism, whether that means preemptive strikes, whether that means the possible loss of innocent lives inadvertently, whether that means the loss of American lives in striking back. It's going to be a long, hard war, and the president means to wage it and hopes to build on the unfortunate incidents of the last 17 days. Chris Wallace reports. There were a few smiles in the Oval Office as the president's mood was decidedly mixed. Mr. Reagan was clearly happy about release of the 39 hostages, but he did not want the nation to forget the 7 Americans still held in Lebanon or the continuing threat of terrorism.
We can be thankful that our faith, courage, and firmness have paid off. But this is no moment for celebration. Let it be clearly understood that the 7 Americans still held captive in Lebanon must be released, along with other innocent hostages from other countries. That the murderers of Robert Steedham and of our Marines and civilians in El Salvador must be held accountable.
Mr. Reagan denied the U.S. did anything to yield to the demands of the hijackers, and he called on the world community to join the U.S. in stamping out what he called the ugly, vicious evil of terrorism.
The United States gives terrorists no rewards and no guarantees. We make no concessions. We make no deals. Nations that harbor terrorists undermine their own stability and endanger their own people. Terrorists, be on notice. We will fight back against you in Lebanon and elsewhere. We will fight back against your cowardly attacks on American citizens and property.
The president's image shapers were also working today, trying to dramatize his involvement in the crisis. As soon as the hostages left Lebanon, they released 14 pictures showing Mr. Reagan meeting with top aides at the White House, Camp David, and on Air Force One. The clear impression that over the last 2 weeks, the president was the man in charge. U.S. officials believe there is growing national support for taking on terrorism, and Mr. Reagan clearly wants to build on the national anger generated in the last 17 days. But U.S. options are limited. A senior administration official said tonight that Syria had been very helpful in ending this crisis, and that Iran may also have been helpful in freeing 4 hostages held by Muslim extremists. As in the past, Mr. Reagan may find out that tough actions are much harder to bring off than tough words. Chris Wallace, NBC News, at the White House.